Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here and welcome back to my channel and another video where I am going to be talking in depth about The Sims 4 Create a Sim, because every so often I like to refresh people's memories or help on board those new Simmers who don't know everything about the game. The Sims 4 has been out for 7 years now, but we're getting new players literally every single day. And I usually do forgotten features in Create a Sim in the game that are overlooked or often people just do not know about. And since I did my last one, so many of you have asked me to go through every single slider in Create a Sim, and that is the challenge I'm going to be taking on today. I'll hold my hands up and say, I hope I've covered everything. I've gone through Create a Sim. I have made so many Sims in my time in which I've used a lot of the sliders, so I hope this is a comprehensive list. So we have the one and only Belagoth waiting in Create a Sim, and I have decided to start off in detail mode. We're gonna start off on the face and the head, which to be honest has the most sliders in general, and then move on to the body. So to enter detail mode, you can click on the face and then click detail edit mode, or you can just double click anywhere on their face and head into here. So here you can actually, if you turn your sim in profile, you can rotate their ears, and then if you turn them back to the center, you can actually lengthen or shorten their earlobes, which is, I mean, not a lot of difference, but if you want them to have bigger earlobes, you can do that. When it comes to the eyebrows in detail edit mode, this will actually help you with the arch of the brow. The forehead is honestly one of my most useful sliders ever. I absolutely love it. So if you actually turn them to the side, you can obviously make the forehead protrude a little bit more. You can also flatten the forehead. However, if you go to the front, this actually changes the face of your sim and its shape so much. I usually use it to help with like the cheeks and the jaw and make them wider and also way more full. And you can also change like the length of the face here as well. I love this slider. It is, in my opinion, the most underrated slider in the game. The eyes are where it starts getting complicated because there's loads of touch points on the eyes. So we're gonna start like on the outer side and like work our way in. Hopefully I get all of these, but the outer corner obviously helps you with where the eyes sit. You can choose where the outer corner sits, and you can also you can go from left to right to make the eyes shorter or longer. You can also change the height of the lids. So if you move over to the lower lid, you can move this up and down. You can also move this left to right, just depending on where you want your lid to sit and where you also want it to curve. And then the same goes for the top lid. If you grab the top lid, you can change where you want it to sit and also like how low you want it to sit on your sim or how high you want it to sit. If you go to the whites of the eyes, this is one that I learned very recently, but you can actually change like the width of the eyes and also the placement, but without moving the eyebrows. You can do this in non-detail edit mode as well, but this means that the eyebrows also don't move. So if you want to make your Sims look a little bit more individual, I highly suggest playing around with the whites of the eye slider. You can also change the iris and pupil size. You can make them bigger, you can make them tiny, and you can also choose where they actually sit on your Sim's eye. So you can lower them, you can also add them get them further up. And then the inner corner is a little bit weird. So if you click the actual inner corner, this is exactly the same as the outer corner. You can choose like where you want it to sit. However, left and right on this actually changes the top lid and sort of like the the gradient, I guess you would call it. So how sharp you want the top lid to be, or you can also round out the edges if you don't want it to be super pointy. From the eyes, we're gonna go to the nose. So the nose bridge is basically the height and also the thickness of the nose bridge. If you turn them to the side, you can obviously change the deepness and also the height on the side as well. I don't know what you would call this, but like, I guess the arch of the nose. You can also change how thick it is or how thin it is. If you change them to the side, once again, if you go into side profile, you can basically choose how much you want the nose to protrude, and also if you want it curvy, if you want it straight, if you want it to have a bump in the nose, not bridge, I don't know, the nose slope, I guess you could say. This is where you can change it. Moving down from the middle of the nose, you have the tip of the nose. So from the front, you can change how like thick or thin it is. I guess that's easier to see inside profile, but you can make it like quite bulbous, you can make it quite thin, and you can also change the thickness of it if you drag landscape, so how big you want the end of the nose to be. But if you actually go into profile mode, if you click the tip, you can change, like this is what you can see easier. So it's basically how bulbous you want the end of the nose to be. And then again, left to right here, just chooses like how much you want the tip of the nose to protrude or not. And then from the tip, you also have the side nostrils. So you can choose their positioning. If you want like higher nostrils, you can. You can choose to have lower nostrils, and also left to right. Once again, left to right always seems to be thickness in The Sims 4 Create a Sim. If you know that, then you know it. But also, if you go to the profile and hit the nostril, you can kind of see like the height difference as well. So if you want to like check from the profile, you also can. But then there's also like the inner nostril, which is like the actual like orifice, and you can actually change these. So you can change them to be wider and more flared, or you can choose them to be like quite high but also not quite as flared. You can lower them if you don't want to see up your hole all that much. There is a actual nostril slider. I just feel like this is very intimate though. I feel like I'm picking Bella's nose. Excuse me, Bella, I know it's gross. Moving on to the cheeks, there's 3 different parts of the cheeks. So you have the cheekbones, you have the actual cheeks, and then you have the lower jaw section. So cheekbones obviously changes like how protruding they are, how you can see them on your sim, and also the height that you want your sim's cheekbones to sit. So basically just how defined they are. If you go into portrait mode, you can choose also again once how defined they are, I guess, from the side profile. Oh, eyes, you can also do this. So profile basically just means you can change like, I guess, the profile of your sim's face and how far out you want stuff to reach. The cheek actually does cheek fullness, but also the jaw. So left to right does cheek fullness and kind of like the cheek jowls, whereas up and down on this sorts out the jaw. So if you choose to go down, you have more of a square jaw. If you choose to go up, you have way more of a cut jaw. And then if you go down once again to the actual jaw, this again just defines your jawline. So if you want to go for more of like a curved jaw, you can go to the right. If you want more of a cut jaw, you can go to the left, and you can also change its positioning. From the side with these two, the middle cheek function doesn't really do anything except like move the jaw up and down, so you can see that on the jawline, whereas the jaw slider in profile actually lets you access whether you want your sim to have an underbite or an overbite, and also like slightly shifts out the chin and the lips. The lips kind of work the exact same way as the eyes. So the corners of the mouth, you can have your sim smiling, you can make your sim a bit more frowny. I tend to go for more of a droop on the lips anyway. I feel like it makes my sims look more natural, so I tend to always bring that down a little bit. Then if you go to the top lip, you can obviously change the thickness by going up and down. You can also change the the width or like how defined the lips are, I guess you could say. I don't really know how to describe that, but yeah, how defined you want your lips to be by going left and right. And then the bottom lip works the exact same way. So up and down is the thickness. If I was going to do mine, I would be like this, even smaller though. And then if you want to change like how defined they are, you can go left to right. But obviously, if you are in detail edit mode and you change to the profile, you can actually click the corners of your lips to choose where you want them to sit in your side profile. So if you want them to have like more inset lips, you can, or you can pull them out a little bit more. This goes for the top and bottom lip as well. So if you want the top lip to be more protruding than the bottom lip, you can do that. You can make both of them protrude more. You can just take them in as you feel like. If you do drag them up and down here though, it will affect the thickness of the lips. And finally, we have the chin, which is pretty self-explanatory. Left and right defines how thick or thin the chin is. Up and down, pretty much like whether you want like I wouldn't call this a weaker chin, but like if you want a chin where the roundness is in the bottom, you can go all the way to the ground. And then if you want one that has like a more roundedness, I don't know how you would say that, but you catch my drift. You know where I'm going with this. And then in profile, you can just change where you want the chin to sit. Leaving detail edit mode though, I'm fairly sure I covered everything. Fingers crossed I did. If you click on the ears here, this obviously just changes how far out you want your ears, how big you want your ears, how close to the head you want your ears. You can literally just go in circles and choose what you prefer when it comes to the ears here. The forehead on this one actually changes like the width of your Sim's head and also the length of it. So basically just your Sim's head size. Keep in mind, I do always change the head size. I feel like once you're working on face details and then you zoom out, like you always change the head size anyway. The eyebrows actually get a lot more in depth, which is weird because it's not detail edit mode, but you can change where they sit. You can go up or down if you just click in like the general vicinity of them. If you click on the outer part of your eyebrow, you can basically choose how far up or how wide you want your eyebrows to go. So if you want more of a droopy look, you can drag it down. If you want more of an arch, drag it up. And then also left and right is like the skinniness. It also shifts your forehead a little bit because it's kind of where your brow bone sits on your Sim. Whereas the inside of the eyebrow is basically the angle and also the width. So if you want short brows, you can go in. If you want longer, you can drag them out. And it's the angle of the curvature that you want for your Sims. And then if you go to the profile, again, how much they protrude or don't protrude. If you click on the eyes in general, so if you just like go to the middle of the eye and that iris, you can choose how far apart you want your eyes and also the height at which you want your eyes to sit on your Sim. If you go to the outer corner, when you have these two boxes with the little like arrow, this basically means that you can make something bigger or smaller. So if you like, you can play around with this again, but yeah, this is kind of just like the scale of the eyes, and that's on the outer side, whereas the inner side, you get this little like recycle image, which is basically the tilt. So this is the rotation of the Sim's eyes, and you can just go up and down and you can have them at any angle that you want. And once again, in profile, this is kind of just like the placement of the eyes, but also like how deeply set you want them or how shallow you want your eye sockets. I feel like I'm like doing anatomy. This feels weird. I feel like I shouldn't be in control of all these big words. However, having said that, I also feel like I probably should have looked through a thesaurus to start this video. Because I feel like I've said the same words over and over again. But like all sliders really do work the same way. It's just like getting used to them. So the bridge of the nose actually can change the rotation of the nose. You're going to see this more in profile. But again, you get that like little recycle sign. If you go a little bit lower to the arch, this is actually where you want your nose to sit. So you can make it shorter. You can make it like thinner. You can make it chunkier. You can also also drag it down and make it like its biggest scale, whatever you fancy. This is what you do for the nose placement and width. And then if you actually go to the nostrils, again, this is kind of about scale. So even though this one changes the size, this one is scaling it. So you can go for like quite a wide nose, but you can scale it down a little bit. And then you can also go to its biggest. The profile of the nose is the most important part of the nose for me. So once again, if you go to the arch, you can see how much you want to rotate the nose. You can make like button noses. You can make more like Greek noses, and you can definitely change the rotation to whatever you fancy. And then if you go to the tip of the nose, this is kind of where the nose comes out to. So you can drag this and just play around with it. Noses, I really do feel are such an important feature in The Sims 4. I don't know why, but I feel like noses and eyes like are the two main things that will change how your Sims look between each other. Once again here, you have 3 sliders on the cheeks. So the cheekbones, once again, just sorts out like the placement. If you've done this in detail edit mode, you don't really need to do this in this mode as well. Like it's just gonna disrupt the work that you did in detail edit mode. The cheeks here does the cheek fullness even more, and also still has control over the jaw if you go up and down, whereas left to right really does bring those cheeks in or makes them a little bit chubbier, which I always like bring out the cheek fullness. I just think it looks so cute. The jaw's really important here. Like I feel like this one has a big factor on the jaw as well and where that sits. And then obviously for the jaw, this just brings it out like way wider than the detail edit mode, and also the height. So you would think that this changes like the definition of the jawline, but that's definitely the cheek one that changes the definition of the jawline. I feel like that's where most people go wrong on jawlines. Like if you try and create a square jaw, you just like drag this out and like pull it down, whereas it doesn't really create like a squareness. You really have to like play with the angles on this one to get the squareness. And then in profile mode, you obviously can shift the cheekbones forwards and backwards. The cheeks again doesn't really do anything but play with the jawline, and then the jaw just brings out the underbite or overbite once again. The lips, if you go to the corners, again you have that mouth rotation. It's not quite as drastic in this one as it is in detail edit mode. I find the smile super creepy in detail edit mode, whereas this smile looks a bit more, you know, like generic white person like smiles at you in the street smile. It's not quite as like Pennywise-ish, and you can drag them down once again. And then if you just click on the lips in general, you can change the width of the lips and also like the placement. And then taking them into profile with the lips, again, this just like kind of chooses where you want the lips to sit. If you want them more forward, if you want them a little bit backwards, it's up to you. And then the chin is basically, once again, whether you want like more of a pointy chin, whether you want a thicker chin, and where you want the chin to sit. So you can lower it, you can make it shorter. The roundness doesn't change in this one. So if you want to change the roundness of your chin, you're gonna have to do that in detail edit mode. But if you go to the profile, you can definitely choose how like pointy you want it or like how non-defined you want it. And then the back of the head, like if you click the neck, you can change like your Sims. I'll change it this way so you can see it a little bit better. But it basically changes the bottom of your skull and like how you want your neck to be rounded. Whereas if you go front facing, you can change the neck width. And then we're gonna zoom out and we're gonna focus on the body a little bit. I know this has been so much talking, but so many of you requested this. So we've got the body. If you click the head, you can change the width and also like kind of the size of the head. I always seem to go for like the lowest just because I feel like it fits the Sims like proportion of their bodies a little bit better. But if you hop out of edit mode and you're like, ooh, like the head's a little bit big, you can just go here and like scale it all down and it won't actually change like any of your facial features. It'll just change the actual size of the skull, We have the shoulder width, which is very known. You obviously have these sliders as well, which is how muscly or how non-muscly you want your Sims, how much muscle definition they have, and then also the fatness or not on your Sims. So they are just like generic sliders. You have the shoulders, like I said, left and right. These makes the shoulders bigger, broader, or more narrow. We have the arms, which you can definitely make smaller or bigger. The biceps, the you're testing my knowledge. The forearms, which I have noodle arms, you can change the thickness of your Sim's forearms. There isn't a hand slider at all, so you unfortunately can't do that. The boobily dooblies is actually just like the scale and the height of the boobs that you want, so you can change them to mommy milkers, or you can change them to whatever you fancy. There's a whole range of boobs that you can have. From the boobs, we have the waist, how defined or non-defined you want your Sim's waist to sit. This is exactly the same on masked Sims as it is on feminine Sims. So like all of these sliders are exactly the same no matter what gender you choose in Create a Sim, just in case you wanted to know. The boobs just kind of makes like the pecs a little bit bigger or not, and you can also change the height of them. And then we also have the hip width, and then from the hips we have the thigh width. I really like the fact that the thighs actually touch on like the biggest setting. It does take a lot to get there, don't get me wrong, like to get rid of the thigh gap, but you can do it. It is definitely possible. And then if you scroll out a little bit further, you have the calf width, and then this one, which is one that so many people don't know about, you can change the size of your Sim's feet. Like this just kind of makes them look like they're changing the width, but it actually changes the length of it as well. So if you want your Sims to have smaller feet, you can. If you want them to have longer feet, you can. Let me take off her shoes so you can see the difference, but there you go. It changes the feet. And if you go like smallest here, it will be the smallest. If you go for biggest here, it will be the biggest. None of these really change like in profile mode. They don't like do anything different. It's just exactly the same as what they do when your Sim is facing forward. Minus the bum, obviously. You can't change the height of the bum, which I kind of wish you could. I kind of wish you had like free movement of the bum, but you can kind of just like choose how big you want your Sim's bum or not. And then if we slightly zoom back in, we also have the back posture, which again is one I always mention in my forgotten features. I see so many people complain that their Sims have bad posture. If you hover over your Sim's top of your spine, you can drag this up and down. So dragging it up will give them a better posture, and dragging them down will make them look a little bit more hunched over. You also have the stomach slider here, so where you want your Sim's stomach to sit. And then the boobs, you can kind of just like, I always tend to do my Sim's boobs from the side, just because it gives you a little bit more control, and you can kind of see where they sit a little bit better. I feel like sometimes when you do it from the front, it's quite difficult to see where they're gonna sit. And again, you have like that weird neck slider, which I never see anyone use. I guess if you have like Sims with bald heads or like not a lot of hair, like you can see it, but you can't really see it otherwise. And there we have it. That's all the sliders. Oh, I need a drink. And I'm not just talking about water. I do need a water because I just spoke so much. And I feel like my mouth is dry as the Sahara. But I also feel like I have a bottle of gin sat right next to me. And it's meant to be for my hollybobs. But I'm thinking of cracking it open after this video. I truly, truly hope that that was everything though. I feel like I got everything, but I swear I'm probably gonna get some comments that are like, you missed this or you missed this slider. I tried to get like all of them in this video as possible. Do keep in mind that you may have custom sliders in your game that you may have forgotten about if you have mods or custom content. There are a ton of like different sliders that allow you to add like lip gapness so you can see the Sims' teeth. There's also ones that change like the definition, that lets you freely move the bum around, gives you bigger boobs. There's so many custom sliders out there, and I absolutely love custom sliders. I think they are great, but I'm fairly sure these are all the official ones that are included in the Sims 4 base game. If you like this video, if you enjoy Sims content, if you're new to the channel and you just happen to come across this video because you were looking for every slider in the Sims 4 Create a Sim, I do these videos every so often. I also upload 5 times a week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Let me know how I did. Let me know if you learned anything new. Please don't say I just wasted half an hour. Hey, if I wasted half an hour of my life, you also wasted half an hour of your life. So, who's the real winner? None of us. The winner does not take it all. ABBA has lied to us for our whole lives. We all just got scammed. Thank you all so much for tuning in though. I hope you don't feel like this video has been a scam, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Maybe, I don't know, this got kinda awkward. Bye, appreciate you, stay safe. I'm holding a crystal. Who the hell do I think I am?